Hey, what's up everyone? Feeper here hitting you with the Warrior video for PvP. Finally, it's coming. I know it's been a while since I've made this. It's been a bit of a gap, but here we go. We're finally doing it. So Warrior is probably the most interesting of the four tanks to play, I feel. There's a lot heavier focus on locking someone down and just bursting them because you do so much damage as opposed to like directly peeling for your team. So we'll get into that when we talk about the gameplay. But first, let's just start with the overview. So you have your standard 3-hit combo. You got Heavy Swing, 1000 potency, Maim, 1000 potency, and then Storm's Path, 1200 potency. Now, the total rage, or I'm playing Classic too much. The total beast gauge generated from this combo is 35. So the first hit gives you 5, second hit gives you 10, and then the last hit gives you 20. Now, just like in PvE, you spend these this rage. I'm just going to call it rage because I want to keep forgetting it's called beast gauge in this game, so just forgive me. You spend it on either Fell Cleave or Decimate. So Fell Cleave, a potency of 2000, and it has additional effect of reducing your Infuriate recast time by 10 seconds. And then Decimate, pretty much the same thing, just an AoE, so it does less potency, reduces Infuriate cooldown by 10 seconds. Now Infuriate gives you Nascent Chaos, which can either be used on Inner Chaos or can be used on Chaotic Cyclone. Again, Inner Chaos being the single target, Chaotic Cyclone being the AoE. Now, besides just doing more damage, you might have noticed that those two abilities actually give you rage as opposed to taking rage. So, you know, you can do something like use a Fell Cleave, boom, Inner Chaos, get 25 more rage, Heavy Swing, Fell Cleave again, and then, you know, in 10 seconds you have your Infuriate coming back up again. There's a lot of possibility to chain these together and just like Fell Cleave, Inner Chaos, Fell Cleave, Inner Chaos, Fell Cleave. And then you can like Inner Release, boom, Fell Cleave, Fell Cleave, Fell Cleave, Inner Chaos, Fell Cleave, and then Inner Chaos. Like that's a ton of damage right there. That's like a melee limit breaks worth of damage right there. It's ridiculous. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So talking about Inner Release. 1 minute cooldown, and just like in PvE, it allows you to use your beast gauge abilities without cost. So this goes for Onslaught, Decimate, and Fell Cleave. Now, the next effect with nullifying stun, sleep, bind, heavy silence, and knockback and draw-in effects is kind of irrelevant in PvE, but PvP it's actually pretty sick. So definitely keep that in mind, and also note that the duration is 6 seconds and not 10, so you only get 3 casts off. So basically, every Inner Release gives you 1 Infuriate because it gives you 3 Fell Cleaves, which means 10 seconds times 3 off of your cooldown, which is 30, and the base cooldown for Infuriate is 30. Now, on top of that, you also have Tomahawk. So this is just an instant cast range slow. It's a 50% heavy for 4 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. Then you have Onslaught, which is probably the best gap closer in terms of animations. It's definitely the quickest, although maybe Gunbreakers is about the same. But anyways, besides that part of it being really good, the 2-second stun with a 600 potency on a 15-second cooldown. So all you need to do to use this is 20 rage. I honestly kind of like the fact that it costs rage and has this low cooldown better in PvP. I think in PvE it's out of place, but in PvP, I think it has a unique function because it gives you, like, if you use this off cooldown, you are going to annoy the enemy team to no end. Like, just stunning people every 15 seconds is freaking ridiculously good. So like just honestly use this before you use anything else to like burst people out, because this CC is honestly probably the best part of Warrior's kit. Now speaking of CC, the last CC you have is Holmgang. Now I think this is probably the most interesting CC in PvP. So 45-second recast, and it draws the target into you, so it pulls them to you, kind of similar to Dark Knight's Unmend. Pulls them to you, and then it binds them to you and binds you to them. So neither of you can move, but you'll be in melee range, which make sure you know that. You'll be in melee range, so you won't like bind someone out of melee range, and then you're just like, well, I can't do anything. They come to you, so don't be worried about that. It lasts for 4 seconds, which is shorter than PvE, but the important thing to know is that it ignores the target's bind and knockback resistance. So if they have something on them, or they use an ability that would normally get rid of a bind, say something like Gunbreaker's bind, that would normally get dispelled by something, then Home Gang just bypasses that, so it doesn't matter. And then also, you can't drop below 1 HP, so you can't die for 4 seconds. This ability is great for just locking someone down if you want to try and burst them out, or if, say, your healer is getting really low and the DPS, the melee DPS is just, oh dang, the melee DPS is just, you know, rushing them super hard. You can Home Gang them, and the melee DPS literally can't do anything for 4 seconds. They just stand there and they're like, well, I guess I'm here. And then last but not least, we have Nascent Flash. Now, I think this is probably the hardest ability in Warrior's Kit to use properly. I think it's... You could make a case as to whether this is worse or better than cover, but it definitely goes the Blackest Night is the best because it's the Blackest Night. And then Heart of Stone is better just because it can give a shield and it's just mitigation. It's just so much easier to use. And then I think cover is a little bit better than this, but you could kind of be like, oh, Nascent Flash is better, or nah, they're even, whatever. Doesn't matter. But getting into it, so 30-second cooldown, instant cast, and it gives you Nascent Flash and the target Nascent Glint for 10 seconds. So when you have Nascent Flash on you, just like in PvE, you heal for 50% of the damage that you do. And then Nascent Glint makes it so that the party member gets all of that healing as well. But it does not give them damage mitigation like it does in PvE. It doesn't give them the 10% flat mitigation. It just gives them the healing. That's why I think this ability is the hardest to use. Because if you like Nascent Flash someone and you just Storm's Path combo, like unless you use the last hit Storm's Path to get that extra healing, you're not really doing anything. Like you would do what? So that'd be like 450, 500, like 600. So you just did like what? 1500 healing? Like that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. Now, however, if you do like Fell Cleave, you know, that's about 1,000, 1,200, another 1,000, another 1,200. You know, that's a lot more healing. So you kind of just have to line it up well, and that's why I think it can be kind of tricky to use. But if you use it correctly, you can keep people alive for stupid amounts of time with this ability. Definitely, and also it's also, you know, single target. It's a bit tricky, but in AOE, as long as there's like 2 people around you, it's a bit safer and a bit more flexible to use. So definitely kind of think to pair this more with AoE and less with single target, but you can get more bang for your buck with single target if you line it up correctly. And that's going to be it for the overview. We're going to jump into some gameplay here and talk about how to be effective on Warrior. I think it's probably the hardest tank to play just because it's a lot more focused on, as I said before, on locking someone down and kind of bursting them out. It's not as focused on healing and setting up for it is, but a lot of it is also set up for itself. So it can be kind of tricky to find the balance between helping your team out via CC and helping your team out by just like trying to kill someone. So we'll talk about that. So your main focus as a warrior is to just do tons of damage. You basically just want to stick to the melee DPS or the healer and just annoy the living crap out of them, or the ranged if you really want. Like it doesn't really matter. Just don't attack the tank. If you see a Dragoon pop litany, just Home Gang them and watch them cry. Like it's pretty funny. Another strat is to, like I said before, to stick to the enemy healers so they run out of mana healing themselves. But in Pugs, this can be kind of difficult because like you kind of have to know that your healer is competent at being self-sufficient and will be able to handle things themselves. And then also if the melee DPS, or if your DPS in general just aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, you can kind of throw. But if you have like a team that knows what they're doing, you can just stick to the enemy healer and make them run out of mana super quick. Similar to Dark Knight, you know how you always want to have enough mana to Blackest Night with Dark Knight. You kind of always want to have enough rage to use Onslaught. Again, abusing a 15-second stun, or a 15-second cooldown stun, is like so crucial. I honestly can't emphasize it enough. Warrior just in general has a lot of low cooldowns, so it can kind of feel overwhelming, but it turns out to be its biggest strength. You know, you can lock people down every 45 seconds with Home Gang. You can stun people every 15 seconds with Onslaught. You provide healing every 30 seconds, and then you, like every 30 to 60, depending on how you line up Inner Chaos and Inner Release, you have like insane burst windows. It's kind of ridiculous. And then while you're doing all of this, you can just, you know, throw a Tomahawk out, slow someone for 50% for 4 seconds. It's strong. It's very strong. Now talking about Nascent Flash again, at first if you're kind of like learning Warrior, I think the best way to approach the ability is to try and just use it in combination with AoE spells. Trying to line it up with a melee like rotation can be kind of difficult because it depends on how much rage you have. Is in a release off cooldown? What are the cooldowns of Infuriate? You know, can I hit these people? Are they about to run away? There's a lot of factors that go into it. So at first it's probably just easier and still somewhat effective to try and just use it in an AoE sense. But once you kind of get the grasp of that, then try to figure out how to incorporate it into a melee rotation, because that's when you're going to get the really big heals. Just to do some quick math, on average, your standard combo will heal about 1600 health, so like not great. And if you did just one inner release combo, so 3 Fel Cleaves, you're going to heal close to double that. And that's not even including like AoEs, you know, the other 4 seconds of Nascent Flash that you have, any inner chaoses you're going to get in there. So the hardest part about Warrior is figuring out when you should lock someone down with your CC to burst them out and kill them, or when should you use it to peel, when should you use the setup. Usually the other tanks kind of have this like, there's like two camps, you know. There's the do damage and like setup camp and the peel camp. And then Warrior has like 3 camps. There's the peel camp, the setup camp, and then there's the I'm going to do a stupid amount of damage to this person camp. So you kind of have to like figure out what you want to do, and that's just going to come with time, knowing matchups, you know, knowing if you have a group that you can play with that can give you feedback, constructive feedback, that's even better. And this is kind of why I think Warrior's the trickiest of the tanks to get down, just because it's got this extra sort of layer to it. But once you get that down, you're going to be a real pain in the ass. Now, as far as role actions go, I think you all know what I'm going to say at this point. Full Swing is freaking broken on Warrior. It's so good. Making them take an extra 10% damage on the fact that it just does 600 potency anyways. Oh man, you just pop that like double inner chaos. Whew. Oh, so good, man. It's so good. Reprisal is nice because you don't actually have any damage mitigation in your kit, like at all. You just have CC. You don't have any damage mitigation. So I like Reprisal. I think Reprisal and Low Blow are kind of tied for second place for me. It really just depends on if you want to be like super ultra annoying and get more CC, or if you want to have a bit of damage mitigation. Rampart is useless. Like, it's just kind of useless on Warrior. And Interject is actually good. Like, I like it. I think the CC, like the physical CC from Low Blow, excuse me, I like more than just the silence, but I think Interject is a close third. So just do a quick recap. You do tons of damage. You have a good amount of healing once you party healing once you get Nascent Flash down. You want to lock people down. Remember that home game drags them to you, so you don't have to worry about not being in melee range. And you kind of want to line up your Fel Cleaves to reset your Infuriate to then give you more rage to Fel Cleave to then reset your Infuriate. That's kind of the flow you want to do. And then you always want to have enough rage to Onslaught, because you don't want to like use it on cooldown. If there's no reason to use it, then like don't. But the more annoying you can be with that ability, the better. Same thing goes for Home Gang. Obviously, again, don't just use them on cooldown just to use them. Be smart about it. But the more effective you can use them, the more you can use them effectively, there we go, is crucial. That's what really separates Warrior from the other tanks, is how often it can do these things where the other tanks can't. So that's going to be a wrap for Warrior and PvP. Thank you all so much for watching to the end. If you like this video, feel free to drop me a like and subscribe. You can also check me out over on Twitch. I stream a lot of Final Fantasy, a lot of WoW Classic, as I have been calling it Rage in this entire review instead of Beast Gauge. I definitely have been playing WoW Classic too much. You can check me out at twitch.tv/feeper7. And other than that, if you guys like this video, these kind of videos I did for the tanks for PvP, and you want me to do them for the healers and the range and physical DPS, let me know. I'd be more than happy to. Other than that, I have some other things planned, so I'll see you on the next one. Peace.